Hello, and welcome to ToughPigs HQ. This is the podcast where Muppet fans have a chat, and that's the whole premise. My name's Joe Hennes, and I'm the editor-in-chief of ToughPigs.com. And on this edition of ToughPigs HQ, we are getting hyped for the return of the Muppet Show. It's premiering on ABC and Disney Plus on Wednesday, February 4th. And to paraphrase a wise frog, these things are better when we got friends to share it with. So it is time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet Becca Petunia.
Yay!
Yay. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to get things started with Drake Lucas.
Hello.
Hi, Drake. And why do we always come here? I guess we'll never know. It's like a kind of torture to have to watch Cameron Garrity.
Oh, I say that to myself every morning in the bathroom mirror.
It's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here, for getting hyped about this Muppet thing with me.
Thanks for having us. This
Of
is great.
course.
I'm very excited about this Muppet thing.
Mhm.
Maybe
Tell me why. Why are you excited about this Muppet thing, Becca?
Okay, well, so I don't know if you know, but the Muppets are fun. No, it's really what excites me is that this really feels like a concerted effort to try to get back to the core of what makes the Muppets work. And as much as I do appreciate them trying new things, and I always want them to try new things, I feel like if you're using the Muppet Show characters, they belong in a Muppet Show setting. It's very much like they belong doing songs and sketches and being with guest stars and all of these different things because that's what they were designed to do. So I'm really excited to see that. And I also really like Sabrina Carpenter an awful lot. So I'm very excited for that as well.
Yeah, and Becca, you made a really good point about the idea that they were designed for that space. And I think because there have been so many Muppet projects where they haven't been in the Muppet Theater, like we don't think about that, like really seeing the Muppets do something where they're not there would be like watching Sesame Street where they're not in New York City on a brownstone. Um, like, and it really is just so exhilarating, whether it's a crummy Christmas special or a Weezer music video or a Jason Segel vanity project, to see those characters on that stage, and in those arches.
Yeah, I have to admit, when you see the lights, when you see the arches, and that whole feeling that comes back, I can't help but be excited just seeing that. So,
Yeah.
I really want to be excited about what's gonna happen.
So I want to follow up on something that Cam said. We've seen this before. We've seen the Muppets go back to the Muppet Theater at least those three times that you just alluded to. And the question really is like, did it work then? And why would we expect it to work now?
Well, I don't know about you, but Keep Fishing is a really catchy Weezer song.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't think Maladroit is the best Weezer album, and I'd be hard pressed to call it the best Weezer album, but I do think it's in the top half of Weezer albums. So, what are
That is
your
exactly what
thoughts?
I was asking you. I wanted your opinion about Weezer songs. Thanks for following like you caught on that. Yeah, it's perfect. So there you go.
I think what I might, this may be too early to get my aluminum foil hat on,
Do it.
but I think that the reason we know it works is because the 2015 show did so poorly. And this might be a hot take, but I think, obviously the 2011 movie was a commercial success. They did the 2014 movie, not as well received, but did well enough, and was also focused around, largely the Muppet Show. And then I had so many people come up to me after the first episode of the ABC series, people who were parents of young children in particular, who would be angry at me saying, why did I invest all this time falling in love with the Muppets and getting my kids into the Muppet Show And then this series comes on and it's filth.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, you know, maybe that person was a little conservative, maybe was a, moms.com, blogger or whatever, but like clearly they had tonal issues with what they had been sort of built up to want. And I think there's a great case to be made for seeing those characters in that format where all they have to do is do silly sketches and sing contemporary songs, whatever they may be, and just allow for as many intersections as possible, because that's what those characters are reactions to all the insanity that's around them.
I think to that point too, we've seen the Muppets try to recapture that feeling of the Muppet Show with whatever the modern thing is. So like
Mhm.
Muppets Tonight and the Muppet Television stuff on Jim Henson Hour before that, and even like Muppets Now, much more recently. And there's something missing, and I don't think maybe one of you has a better way to say it, but like I don't know what it is specifically about the Muppet Theater doing a stage show. And obviously we've seen backstage of the other projects that I just mentioned, maybe not so much Muppets Now, but they didn't hit in the same way. So what is it about the Muppet Show and the Muppet Theater that works, whereas those other projects didn't catch on quite as much?
Well, nostalgia is a trap, and it's
Mhm.
funny that I started by saying, like, I'm so happy that they're doing the same thing again, because I do understand that nostalgia can be a kind of stifling net that keeps us from exploring the world around us and all of those things, but it's powerful, right? And I really think, ultimately we have the fondest memories of the Muppet Show because it is the higher quality thing the Muppets did, that like more people are going to be nostalgic for the Muppet Theater than would be nostalgic for Muppet Central, but again, not to repeat myself, but like the Muppets, many, not all, but many of the Muppets were designed as players on a sort of variety vaudeville stage and setup. You know, Fozzie Bear, Piggy, they are characters who were made to sort of fill this kind of vaudeville variety archetype. And that means that this is a great place for them to be. It answers the questions of why they're here automatically, and means you can really just focus on them.
And the vaudeville theater was nostalgic in 1976, right? Like
True.
Yeah.
that was the throwback to put contemporary artists in at that time. So it was already kind of a relic, where I think a late night talk show in 2015 is too of the now.
Hmm.
You need that throwback and the magic of an old theater house, that is just something so quintessentially Muppet, in a way that a blue screen television, center just didn't quite pass the smell test.
Yeah, and it's funny, the amount of time from the vaudeville days to the Muppet Show era, without doing the math in this moment, is kind of similar to the Muppet Show era to today, in
Mhm.
that maybe because no one watching the Muppet Show today grew up watching vaudeville, or very few of those people at least, and so like that nostalgia doesn't exist for a new variation of the Muppet Show, and also not for nothing. Only so many people who are watching the new Muppet Show grew up watching the old Muppet Show. So maybe the solution is that they should be doing a throwback to variety shows of the Muppet Show era once again, of which the Muppet Show was maybe the best remembered one. So like almost doing a parody of themselves, or a reference to themselves in that way.
There it is.
I was kind of struck by Becca's note that it was the most high quality. I actually, what I love is how slapstick, like just thrown together, like just try this out, doesn't work. It's okay if it's not funny. There was the space to play, and enough episodes in which to do it, where there are plenty of things that are not high quality of the Muppet Show, where like eyes are falling off or whatever. They got one take before the,
Yeah.
union guys went home, and they were able to embrace it. And it adds this like really nice charm to it where you kind of like, you give it a chance, you stick with it. They had the time to play and the people willing to do that. And I think a little bit of my fear with Disney is that they aren't going to let them play so much, and they're not going to let them be pinning stuff off to the side. And the atmosphere that, from people I've talked with who worked on the show, it's like running backstage and being like, hand me that shark, and running out again. I think all of that chaos helped to create the chaos on stage that works really well. And so when I say I'm excited, I am excited, but I'm also like, I hope they let them have, give things a try. And some are going to win and some aren't. It's the same as SNL. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But when you look back on it, you like embrace all the good stuff. And that's kind of like what I hope for it. And I think that works in a way with the stage and the whole Muppet Theater, because that's what theater is. I mean, that is like, you go out there, someone misses their cue, you have to make do, like bringing that and bringing that feel onto what we see, I think is going to be really important. And it can't be kind of too forced. It has to come from a place of, I was going to say a place of reality. It's a TV show with puppets, but like that, it has to come from that real feeling, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a certain level, and I've said this a lot. I feel like whenever anyone asks me, what do the Muppets mean to you? And why do you like the Muppets? And like that came up like when our friend Tori was interviewing us all at the Muppet Henson birthday event last year. She was like, "What do the Muppets mean to you, Becca?" And the thing that I always say is like, what the Muppets mean to me is a certain like unbridled and unrestricted creativity. The idea that you can and should do anything. And I don't mean like the Muppets as in like Kermit the Frog is about creativity. I mean like Jim Henson and Frank Oz and Jerry Nelson and Jerry Jewell and
The Henson Associates.
and Carolee Wilcox and Jane Henson and all of these people are about like just let's build something and do something with it. And and I do think you can see that energy in the early days of the Muppet Show. I think there is that energy of just like, let's try this. What if there were houses who told jokes? And then when only Becca found that funny, they said there's no longer going to be houses who tell jokes.
That's
What if
rude to
what
you
if
specifically.
I
Yeah.
know. Someone should do a podcast about that. What if there were what if there was, a mad scientist who had inventions that don't work? And then that kind of worked. So they were like, what can we do to punch this up? And they added Beaker and you know, that sort of just like what do we think? What do we think works? Like it's never the most direct answer. If you were going to say, like, what should Bunsen's assistant be? No one, I can't say no one, but not many people would come up with Beaker, right? Would come up with Beaker, would figure out in a world where Beaker doesn't exist, would come up with Beaker. And yet they did, and they had the creativity to try those new things. And this is what, to build off of what Drake said, this is what does give me some anxiety about it. Because as much as I'm like, look, the Muppets do belong in a theater, the Muppets do belong doing sketches and skits and talking to celebrities and singing songs and telling dumb jokes and being talking houses. But as much as I'm like, this is what the Muppets need, the Muppets also need a level of freedom and creativity. And that is so much harder to find just in today's media environment in general, because when there's 10,000 shows that you could be watching, the idea that a show can just grow and experiment is much harder. So much of this is already established because you are doing the existing Muppet Theater, the existing Muppet Show. And I hope they are given the chance to try out new things, try new characters, try new pairings of characters and duos and contexts. Certainly bringing back Bean Bunny has me excited, because it's like we can do Bean Bunny paired with characters that he never got to be paired with. And that might lead to new cool ideas.
Yeah. So the thing that really, for me, that it comes down to with, if we're going to be seeing this like new, fresh creativity, if we're going to be seeing them trying to hit the same notes that the Muppets have always hit, especially the last couple of decades, is that we're missing a Jim Henson. And of course, we're all missing Jim Henson, but like we're missing someone who can creatively be at the top, who can say yes to whatever the best, because they've always said like best idea wins, but someone's got to be there to say what the best idea is, and so having someone who's at the top of the pyramid who can creatively control this whole thing and be on the floor so that if someone does something funny, they can say, yes, that's it. We're going to go with that. Let's keep moving. And I mean, for better or for worse, I don't know. I don't. Time will tell once we see this thing. We do have Seth Rogen, and I want to believe that Seth Rogen, having a career in comedy and a career in producing TV, that he would be a good person that can be at the top of that pyramid and be able to approve some really fun creative ideas. So that leads me to my next question for you all: is Seth Rogen good choice? We excited about that?
It's hard not to have a little bit of, like I said before, vanity PTSD of the Jason Segel or the Josh Gad of it all. And it does feel like of late the Muppets can only come back if they have some celebrity to kind of provide the CPR to them. And so just that notion always has me a little on edge.
Totally.
What I'm hoping is that Drake made the analogy to Saturday Night Live, which I think is really apt, and I'd love to actually explore that a little bit later on. But I think we do have to temper our expectations that this special is a special in the same way that the SNL 50th anniversary special that we saw last year or 2 years ago now was a special of the show that they produce every week. And so what would be great is if Seth Rogen kind of did his life support on it, gave us the paddles, and now we could then hand the reins off to whether it's the team that did Muppets Mayhem or it's Bill Beretta or whoever, to then kind of politely step back and let us get on with a next round of 120 episodes, which I know will never happen, but a guy can dream, right? But yeah, I think how do you do that without overstaying your welcome? I am heartened by the fact that I think his scene with Fozzie in Muppets Now was on like the one hand of bits that I really, really enjoyed of Muppets Now. And I have not watched the studio, but I have heard enough about the studio where it seems like he's got a good understanding of what works in Hollywood versus what works with an audience, and a self-reverence, and he kind of is able to give the middle finger to the industry in a similar way that I think the Muppets used to really be giving their own version of a middle finger to the industry.
Just before you guys tell me your thoughts on this too, I want to follow up about the studio specifically, which I have watched, and production-wise, it's phenomenal. Like, I think it's a great show, but like specifically the production of that show is like truly fantastic. And to have the producer, celebrity or not, of that show coming over to the Muppets is aces in my book. But also Seth Rogen is kind of playing like a version of himself in that, this person who's like in Hollywood and trying to, make a name for himself, producing work, creating new things or new things based on old things. And, um, but there, from at least my perspective, there's no ego in it. Like, yes, he's the star of the show, the studio, but he's not being like, and all my ideas are great. And I get to work with all these properties that I love. So I think having that taken out of it, hopefully, will help us avoid that Jason Segelness of, hey man, I just want to be in a Muppet movie. I just want to be a Muppet. And then I
Yeah.
get to be a Muppet and I'll have that in my home for the rest of my life. And and then you get these like that symbol of the vanity project that doesn't really help the franchise in the long run. Anyway, sorry.
You know what I
Continue
do want
with the
you,
Seth Rogen
you know what I
thoughts.
do want to say? You
Hmm.
know what I do want to say is I haven't seen the studio. And obviously we can all think of Seth Rogen things that didn't work and yada yada yada. Like again, anyone who's been a comedian in Hollywood for as long as Seth Rogen, I could name 10 projects I bounced off of. Again, I can name a bunch of Mel Brooks projects I bounced off of. Lord knows that new History of the World TV show was BAD poor.
Once again, a
Um,
Josh Gad vanity project
no
with that
kidding.
show. Yes.
No kidding. I didn't remember that. I maybe knew
Hmm.
that at one point. But what I wanted to say is, you know what project I loved, and I think Joe knows what I'm going to say, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
I didn't know you
Uh,
were going to say that, but that
Mm,
is a phenomenal example.
it is a
I
phenomenal
love
example.
that movie. I actually, over the summer, I watched it again, and I was on my couch sobbing, which again is maybe the hormones. It's probably the hormones, but the fact of the matter is, I love that movie. And I think that that movie does a great job of taking the characters back to their kind of roots and back to specific things that the studio finds interesting, but finding new things to do. Seth Rogen is in it, but Seth Rogen is not the star. Seth Rogen is either Bebop. He's Bebop.
Yeah, he
Um,
easily could have cast himself as Michelangelo, and we would have been like, well, it's his show. I mean, I guess that's what you got to do.
He could have cast himself
Yeah.
as the main villain. He's Bebop.
Yeah.
Again, like he's not even the main like Rocksteady, I feel like is the more popular one even of the two of Bebop and Rocksteady. But like that movie is charming and that movie manages to be really funny and also have a lot of heart. Again, it made me cry. I was like, Splinter is just trying to be a good dad. I get it. I get it. So I'm hoping like that makes me hopeful. And it's funny because this morning, like whenever I do a podcast, I always say, "Hey Lee, I'm about to do this podcast. Like, what are your thoughts on this?" to my spouse, Lee. And Lee was like, "Seth Rogen's gonna be fine because Mutant Mayhem was good." That was like literally like Lee was just like playing video games on the couch and was like, "It's gonna be fine. The Ninja Turtles were good."
All right, hear
So
me out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Electric Mutant Mayhem? Huh?
Mm,
Huh?
mm,
No?
mm,
No, nobody likes
mm,
that idea?
mm,
Okay, I'll shut
mm.
up now.
I
That's fine. That's fine.
oh, sorry. Yep. Okay.
Oh,
You were
yeah, it's
putting
even better when you have to think about it for a
yeah,
while.
you were putting the peanut butter in the chocolate. I love that. Yep. Great.
I
Cosign.
do like that Seth seems to be able Seth, like I know, Seth.
It's, you know,
Your
man,
old
Seth.
friend.
Yeah.
I do like that Seth Rogen does seem to be able to laugh at himself. And I think that goes a long way when you are the head of something and involved in something. I think the studio is great. I think it's a wonderful show. It does concern me that it's about him, so I think it'll be interesting to see if he can step back, if he could be a Lord Lou Grade or something, right?
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
lend your name, in that case with money, and really let the characters play. And I think that the Muppet performers know what makes them laugh, and it seemed too that in the original a lot of it was trying to make each other laugh. and entertain each other. And maybe that was the bar for like what we can get away with. And I'm hoping that that holds true with the new production as well, because I think when they are given a chance to just kind of like riff and, do a few takes and have fun with it, that they can get to a good place with that. And so, again, having that space to play is really important. And Seth Rogen seems like he might be into that, where you can have a little space to play.
Maybe we'll find out that that Seth Rogen is Scooter's uncle.
His other
On
uncle
the other
side.
side.
Yeah, on the other side.
Right. Yeah.
You get multiple uncles.
So I asked each of you to bring a couple of questions to this conversation so that I wouldn't have to write too many questions. Do any of you have something that you want to ask the rest of the group?
I am curious, and I don't know that it needs to happen necessarily in this special, but it's hard not to fantasize that there might be a series on its way. How much do you guys want to see a balance between established classic characters and the potential for completely new characters, or sort of reimaginings of, you think of an Uncle Deadly character, like, or I would love a Mr. Curly Twirly revival in 2026. Like,
I know
how
someone
much
else
do you
who would
want
He's
to
love
see
a
of
not
that
Mr.
your
Curly
balance?
Twirly.
boss. He's not your boss. You
He's
don't
not
have
my
to suck
boss.
up to him. You don't have to suck up to him.
No, I think Mr. Curly Twirly is Cam's boss.
Oh, okay.
Right.
He's actually my uncle.
Who
Uncle
owns
Mr.
Dickensie
Curly
in
Twirly.
London?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I personally would love to see new characters and reimagined characters. Again, one of the things, and I was going to talk about this, but one of the things I love is that they rebuilt all of these characters. Hilda and Miss Mousy and the Frackles, and Paul Revere the horse seems to be in this.
Yeah.
Not on my bingo card, Paul Revere.
Yeah, no,
the
no,
horse.
not
No.
on my bingo card. But I would love to see some of those characters. Like, what could a new performer do with Miss Mousy? Is there a world where Miss Mousy is, the new breakout character, in the same way that we never would have thought Uncle Deadly would be a character that legit, like, normal people know now, which was not the case when I was, a child Muppet fan. Um, but I would love that. And I think that, there's been a lot of talk lately about recasts, and I'm not going to get into that on this because presumably Joe doesn't want to be here 9 or 10 hours. But there is something really special about a Muppet performer, or any performer, getting to create a new character of their own. Because, sometimes it does feel like the Muppets are just, the Muppet performers are just playing the hits, and not even their hits, but other people's hits. I think that that's a reductive way to say it. Some people have said that. Um, but I would love to see that new angle and that new creativity. The question is, will they be allowed to do that? And that remains to be seen. I think that depends on how many episodes they get.
Yeah.
A full series, you can absolutely be like, you know what? We're gonna do one episode where Miss Mousy really has a lot to do, and we'll see what happens from there. One special, you presumably would want mostly Kermit and Fozzie and Gonzo and Bunsen and Beaker and
Well, all those obscure characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of the female characters get a chance to
that was what my question was about, unsurprisingly, Drake.
be, become more of the featured players, and I would love to see women play them. I think there are quite a few very talented female puppeteers, and there hasn't been the space for them to break. I love the OG characters, and I of course want to see them. I think if like Gonzo didn't appear as much, that would be weird, so I feel like, of course, but I feel like getting some female voices in there would be, literal female voices in there would be great. And I also just love, like, I love Joe from Legal. I think that is a fantastic character that is kind of fun to throw in. And it doesn't mean that you have to give that little weasel full storyline, but having a chance to like have it become like a, New Zealander, have one of those characters that pops up, or like a Crazy Harry or something. Like, we don't have Crazy Harry's backstory. I don't really want to know what's in Crazy Harry's backstory.
I'm sure it's disturbing.
It's
Yeah.
disturbing and loud,
Yeah.
but
Right.
but that's a great character to just pop up, and having more of those can be, fun if, done tastefully and not just like one after the other. But I think that they do that well. And as we've seen, they're rotating in some of the ones that have come from other productions. Bean Bunny, we've got in there. We've got Rizzo, who was not on the original. Well, he
was, but yeah.
developing. Yeah. But,
Yeah, right.
it just feels as if like they are like giving that idea that could happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with some of those characters.
Yeah. And you even think of like, Pepe and Bobo, who are,
Mhm.
I would say, Pepe certainly is a main character. Bobo's maybe in more of a secondary role at this point, but like those were breakout stars of a 90s Muppet Show. So like, there was something really exhilarating about seeing Bobo in the arches too, in the longer teaser that we got.
I do love that mix of the characters from different eras. I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
satisfying, and it really calls back to that whole like more dogs and frogs and bears and chickens and things from Muppets Take Manhattan, which like I believe in both on screen and behind the scenes. That they should be getting more and more involved. But one thing that I love about the Muppet characters is that they have an opportunity to create characters that fit either three-dimensional characters that we know everything about them and like they have very specific personalities like Kermit and Piggy and Fozzie, and then you've got these two-dimensional characters where like we know enough about them and they can have a little bit of nuance. Like I'm thinking about like Bunsen and Beaker, Statler and Waldorf, where like they're really defined by what they do, but there's more to them than just that. And then you've got these one-dimensional characters who do one thing, and like your Crazy Harrys or whatnot. And oh, actually, and then there's a fourth one, which are just like these background characters. Like I'm thinking about like Boppity and
Gaffer.
Gaffer is a great example. And
Can you imagine
we
having to do a whole episode on Gaffer?
that's the
Anyway,
thing is like
I
don't feel like
absolutely can, and it would be
I'm-
awesome.
but like I don't feel like we need to have like well then this is the Miss Mousy episode so that we can give Miss Mousy a personality. I don't think that's necessary, but I do think that these characters being given more time and more screen time and helping us to get to know what their shtick is will help. I think it would be really hard to do the Uncle Deadly thing to most any Muppet character because Uncle Deadly we forget like he had a personality. Like he
Yes.
was like this scary phantomy guy, and then they were like, forget that. We'll keep some of that stuff, but we want to make him this other guy that is Miss Piggy's wardrobe person, and like that was brilliant and it works perfectly. But I think to do that with Crazy Harry or New Zealand or something like that, it just wouldn't feel right. But we do have all these characters that are poorly defined, like Miss Mousy or like Annie Sue. And I
Or
think there's
even
a
like
reason
Lips initially. I mean,
Lips
they
is another
Great
good
example,
example.
too.
and
Right.
with Muppets
Yeah.
Mayhem, we're able to pull out a whole
Right.
character. So
Because you could argue that Lips didn't have a personality, that all these different attempts at like giving him a little thing and then they never really did anything with him.
I've said this before. My spouse had no idea who Lips was.
Sure.
Had seen Great Muppet Caper, just like didn't resonate. We were watching Muppets Mayhem, and they were like, "Who's the new one?"
Yeah, right.
And we're like, "Is that Menomina?" And I was like, "No, but that's okay.
No, that's a chrysanthemum.
Enjoy this new character."
Right, yes. Anyway, that said, is like, I think there's a reason that some of these characters that we're mentioning did not get their own dedicated week in the official 70th anniversary campaign, because even though we all know them and we consider them, like us, the fans consider them iconic or important, they have no personality, they have no background, they have no real consistent voice. And to be able to give them some sort of consistency in some sort of like, okay, we've given a personality trait to Miss Mousy, so now you know who she is when she shows up. Or there's a little bit of weight to it when you see her singing in the background with 30 other Muppets.
I do know that she doesn't want boys to boil her or try to spoon, so just jot that down.
Okay, got it. But then, like, the other thing that we're talking about here is creating new characters. And I think there's such an opportunity to create some new characters. But the thing that I'm worried about with that is this thing. And Becca, you know more about this than any of us because you've been doing this research on it for the Prairie Dawn companion podcast. In that, like, it can't just say, "Here's our new character." Like, here she is. Like that, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
It almost never works. I
right,
guess Abby is like the one exception, and or Zoe, but like that was a concerted, like, major push. Abby was a whole
right,
marketing and media blowout kind
right.
of thing.
I think the solution though is like you have to create 10 characters and hope the two of them stick. Like that, look at Muppets Tonight. All those characters, and then you end up getting Bobo and Pepe, and great. We got
Yeah.
two new ones. So
Seymour
that
who?
Well,
who is that? Oh,
I
Seymour.
said
Yes,
Seymour
right.
who?
Joe, you still promised me your spare Phil Van Neuter action figure,
Oh, did
so
I?
yes.
Yes, great.
Uh,
Good
so
riddance.
um But yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said for these characters who sort of emerge organically. And I think we have seen that sometimes be some of the most memorable characters. Rizzo, for example, definitely feels like he was kind of created that way. And obviously on Sesame Street, you even kind of see that with like Elmo and Telly, who sort of just grow over time and become two of the biggest stars of Sesame Street. It's a balance, and again, part of what that's required is time and space, and it
Yeah.
also requires new voices and new ideas. And I'm really glad. We don't know much. We might know a little bit, but not that much. But one thing that we do know, and that is public, is there was a huge team of puppeteers on this Muppet Show special. And probably a lot of them will just be puppeteering Muppets in the background and in group shots and right-handing and all of these different things. But here's hoping that a lot of them do get a chance to try new characters. Because again, I think bringing in a new voice is also just a great way to make a new character. I mean, like, that's part of why I think Prairie Dawn works, is because she was this character who was added and also was added at the same time as Fran Brill, and developed that way. So I think giving those kind of new voices and new people a chance. It's why I'm so hyped for Bradley Freeman out here doing Rizzo and Bean. Is I really want that injection of new blood and new ideas into the family.
You know who's doing that
Yeah.
perfectly right now is the new Fraggle Rock series, where
Hmm.
they're like, "Hey, let's, give Kanya Chen this character that pops up and says I'm Poggy," and then a year later, like Poggy has their own episode and this entire backstory and personality, and then even like these smaller characters, like one of my favorites is Little Rago. And Little Rago has this one little joke, and we don't want to know anything else about Little Rago, and I think it's hysterical. And that only works because like someone took that character and wrote a little bit of something, and then they liked it, they wrote a little bit more, and then became a running thing.
They were playing
Yeah,
around with the doll on set and
yeah,
making jokes with people, and they're like, "Oh, we'll write that in next season."
exactly. And to my
And
earlier point,
yeah,
they've got a John Tartaglia on set who's able to be like, yes, best idea wins.
totally,
Let's go with it.
totally. And I do think some of what we're pointing to, but I haven't said out loud yet, is this idea of knowing that there's a little bit of opportunity for maybe quantity over quality, but definitely knowing that like there will be a next season or there will be 10 episodes to play an experiment. I think that's why the SNL metaphor is again apt to go to, because there is this sense of players who they are in the background for a bunch of weeks and then all of a sudden they have a great sketch and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I want to see Marcelo Hernandez in everything, right? And the Muppets kind of have that lineage as well. Sesame Street has that lineage, and I think it's a great comparison to what you see with Zoe and Telly and Rosita. characters that existed in a 130 episode character ecosystem versus, and I'll say, and I know some of the people who perform these characters, but these new Puzzle Place Sesame Street puppet humans, like I could barely tell you a thing about them beyond maybe their names, which I feel terrible about. I do like Andrew Kano is one of my best friends, and I don't know the character that he plays on Sesame Street or what the character is really about.
It's important to know that Joey is the first Italian American Muppet, and Joey has one major like, that is he likes cooking with his dad.
Is his dad Angelo?
No, maybe.
Because you just described Angelo, like a young version of Angelo.
But no, I totally get it, and I
Yeah.
feel this. I have mixed feelings about the
And truly no hate. Like again, that's some of that is more to like there's a lot more you could do in 130 episodes than you could do in 26 or however many they're making now.
that they appear in maybe one of those 26. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's the thing. And that's why with this special, I'm not necessarily expecting us to get like a ton of new characters and bold new ideas in this one special, because it's 40 minutes, or we're assuming it's 40 minutes.
Yeah, we actually don't. We know very little, by the way. Like, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, maybe this podcast, I mean, like we might have a little bit more information. But as of right now, all we know is we've got that little teaser, and we know when it's airing, what day, not what time. And like that's it, which is also, I mean, we don't have time to get into this, but like bonkers how little we know just a few weeks away from this premiere.
And here's hoping that we do get more episodes, because this is kind of what I do want to see. I mean, and often, but here's hoping, because in today's media landscape, that kind of stuff is not a guarantee.
Can I give you my hot take on this? I don't know if this is specifically what you were saying, but we're talking about more episodes. Everyone wants this to be a series pickup. I'm kind of against that. There's my hot take. I don't want a series pickup. I want Disney to commit to doing regular specials. I want them to be able to take the time to do, because if we knew that, like, okay, they got 3 months to, like, write and perform and film a thing, as opposed to dedicating themselves to having to do something for 10 weeks in a row and then get behind schedule. And then the writers don't have time to judge things the way that we've been talking about it, on the day. I would rather they do something of quality over quantity, because I worry that if they got a whole season of something that, like, it would kind of get stale after a few episodes, or the audience isn't going to stick around. And then suddenly you have another failed Muppet project. And for a failed Muppet project to be the Muppet Show, the one thing that should not fail, in my opinion, like, I think that would be kind of devastating to the brand, and it'd be devastating to me. And that's all I really care about. I don't want to be sad.
That's a good point. I guess when I say quantity over quality, I guess what I'm more looking for is the promise of a next project. Carol Spinney years ago said this great thing about the beauty of the Beatles, was that Paul McCartney always knew that he was going to write another song. Like, he never wrote anything thinking, well, I hope this works, or else these Beatles might go away. Like, we're always going to be writing more stuff. And I think the Muppets just need that, and they haven't had that in a long time, of like, oh yeah, save that for next quarter's Muppet special or 2028's Muppet special or whatever it is. But just knowing that something else is on the horizon.
And as we know, the Beatles never broke up. They're still making
That's
music.
right. Yeah. Famously
Well,
so.
2 of them are still making music.
Not as the Beatles, though. No, sorry, Drake, please.
No, I kind of feeds on what I was wondering, which is what would say to you that, damn, this was good. Like, this was successful. What, because I hear a lot about, like, if this isn't good, Muppets are going to do anything again, or if this isn't in there, or there's a lot of like, this isn't, but what would make people feel like that's what I wanted to see?
Nothing, because people are doomers and defeatists. No.
Not you, Becca, though.
But for some people, that's true, because
Yes.
there's nothing that they can do that will be good enough. Nothing can match the nostalgia in your memory. Like, not even real nostalgia, just what you kind of think you remember.
No, and I think that's true. But for people
Yeah.
on this call, what to
Yes.
you would say, like, because I don't look at you as doomers. I look at you all
No,
as
right.
like, you know, optimistic Muppet fans who are coming back to see more and hoping for more and have ideas about what you want to see. And I
Well,
guess what I'm wondering is like, what is it that you want to see from this?
here's the thing. How many times Joe and I have been in the Muppet fan journalism game forever. How many times have we seen a project where we felt, or by we, I don't necessarily mean Joe and I, but I mean like people at large, felt like if this one doesn't succeed, the Muppets are doomed?
Hmm.
How many times has it felt like Muppets 2015 ended, we're never going to see the Muppets again? Muppets Mayhem ended, this might be it for the Muppets. Muppets Tonight ended, this might be it for the Muppets. Muppets from Space flopped, this might be it for the Muppets. Um, you know, the Jim Henson Hour flopped, this might be it for the
Oh my God, you're
Muppets.
giving so many examples. This is so depressing.
The
But
Muppets
like,
really haven't been the same since Sandman Friends ended.
but like, I know from being on the forums and stuff, and then for writing for Tough Pigs for half of those, that we had these discussions.
Yeah.
When the show was canceled, when 2015 was canceled, there were people being like, "This is it. Disney doesn't like the Muppets anymore." And then they do always come back. Guys, they have a new roller coaster this year, and I know that that roller coaster is not maybe what everybody wanted, but there are other things the Muppets are doing.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the Muppets are dead as a brand if this
That
show
that's
doesn't
not
get picked up.
that's not Drake's question though.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood it.
No, no, you're still you made some very good points, but the question being the opposite of that is what could they do that would make you go, ah, they're back, they did it. Is there something that could be in this special? Like and for me, like I'd like to put a lot more thought into this than just speaking off the cuff today, but um I do think that there are it's probably like a bingo card of like I want a memeable moment.
Hmm.
I want there to be like a genuine, clever, laugh out loud moment. Like I want the Muppets to be funny. Um, I want um, I want Sabrina Carpenter to do such a good job that other celebrities take to social media to say, "Oh my God, I want to do that. How do I get on the Muppet Show?" And I don't know if those are like the be all end all of like that's what we'll call a success. But these are the kinds of things where they're at least on the going in the right direction.
Yeah. I think for me, I want to see something new in terms of if it'll be fine if it's all just pigs in space and vets hospital and then they sing Rainbow Connection at the end. Like, I'll still love that, but not as much as if they do like even I keep saying this because I'm trying to will it to happen, but like a happiness hotel segment, but it's like the White Lotus. Um, and it just pops in different places, different tropical areas, or like, some of those pre-tapes that they did for the live Muppet shows, like stuff like that, I think will be really exciting. I think if we could see Sabrina Carpenter humbled a little bit, which I think we've already seen. She's dressed identically to Miss Piggy, but like to see her, I don't know what her special skills are, but like to find out she could tap dance or could find out she could,
Oh yeah.
do something in the vein of like Beverly Sills putting a spoon on her nose. Like
I
I
love
want to
that.
see something like that. And I just want to be genuinely left wanting more.
You know what I want all Muppet fans, everybody listening to this, you at home, kids at home, I want you to close your eyes. Okay. And open your eyes and go walk to your television. And Cam, this is directed at you and this is directed at our listeners. I want you to go on Netflix and put on A Nonsense Christmas with Sabrina Carpenter. Because here's the thing that it feels like every Muppet fan I've spoken to either doesn't know or didn't see. Sabrina Carpenter filmed a full variety special with skits, songs, covers, celebrity guests, a multiple comedy routines, takes to the audience, outfit changes, all of these different things, new songs, old songs. It exists. It happened already. Sabrina Carpenter was already on a variety show that she hosted and starred in. And it was actually a lot of fun. I mean, it was not as good as like the best of the Muppet Show, but you want to see Sabrina Carpenter use special talents to do fun things in a variety show format, it's out there.
I
Do-
appreciate knowing that. I will also say, just again, as I've said, I'm a huge SNL fan. She's great on SNL, and I think I genuinely believe, even before we knew that the special was happening, if you had asked me, I would have said Sabrina Carpenter is like the perfect guest for a Muppet Show. Um, so I genuinely, to your question, Drake, I think the fact that they picked her is at least 80% of the job right there.
I have a question about this Christmas special because we know that she can sing, we know that she can act, we know that she can be funny. But I think the thing that Cam was kind of hinting at is, was there something else that she did in that special that was like she would never have had an opportunity to do this if she was not specifically on a variety show,
Oh,
like tap dance, like yodel, like hang a spoon on her
no,
nose.
no, that is
Yeah,
admittedly true, but in terms of being
yeah.
humbled, she is the butt of a lot of the jokes
I mean,
on
that's
it.
great. I do love that, but I do also love the idea of like when Jim Henson would take I think David Laser would take the guest star out to lunch before they would start writing and just be like, "What have you always wanted to do and you've never had the opportunity because you're a ballet dancer." And Rudolph and Ray have to be able to say like, "I want to sing a song in in a tuxedo." Or whatever it was that he said for that. And like what an opportunity this could be, and also for the audience to not know what to expect. And
Hmm.
Sabrina Carpenter is not the best example for what I'm about to say because uh, she really can do so many different things. But I feel like so many guest stars, and for the old Muppet Show as well, it's like Debbie Harry is going to be the guest star. She's probably going to be singing Debbie Harry songs, and like she's yeah, like that's kind of it. But when you get surprised by someone and you're like, oh my God, they're so good, they're so funny, and I didn't think they were funny. They sing so well, I didn't know they could sing. Whatever it is. I would love to see more of that. That's something the Muppets really brought out of people. Drake, did you have an answer to your own question?
Um, I think everyone kind of hinted at some of the things. One is I would love to genuinely laugh out loud. Like I just want to laugh. That's why I love the Muppets. And um, I would love to hear the worst pun I've ever heard. I would appreciate it so much. Um, and I guess going back to what we talked about before, I kind of want that feeling that they're having fun and they want us to have fun. Like,
Hmm.
I don't, not that this is making money, not that this is reaching so many people, not that this is whatever. Like, those goals seem a little bit like not real success. I think it is if we're genuinely entertained in some way. So, and not all of it means laughter. I mean, some of my favorite moments from the Muppet Show are actually very quiet, but very thoughtful, and you feel something. And I guess what I want to feel something coming away from it.
I think that's a great word, Drake. Just feel something. Because, like, I don't think I laugh out loud much watching Back to the Rock, but as far as reboots of Muppet things go, thus far Back to the Rock is the gold standard. I think that most Muppet fans would agree with me that in terms of just reboots of things.
Yeah.
But I do feel something meaningful about the Back to the Rock that I watch. I it's so vague to be like, I want to feel something. Or, I mean, like, literally, this is like the Supreme Court justice who was talking about pornography and was like, I know it when I see it. And
Yeah.
the answer is, like, ideally, I shouldn't know what makes this Muppet Show special good. Because when I would sit down to watch a new episode of The Muppet Show, when, Lord knows, who can remember when I was watching, well, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, right? When my dad put on, an old VHS of season 5 of The Muppet Show, I didn't know exactly what I was going to see. And like you said, sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was meaningful or pretty or interesting, or you were like, how did they do that, or any of these things, but I want to feel something.
Oh, I forgot about the how did they do thatness of just having puppets on TV. I would
Yeah.
love to see them really do something where you're just like, wow, like that's why we're not watching a cartoon right now. That's why we're not watching something created by AI. Like this is something that only the Muppets can do. It would be really nice to see something like that in this special, whatever that is.
Yeah, and that is harder to do now too, just in this technological world. And I
Mm-hmm.
will say that is something that I have struggled with the Muppets in recent years too, is what what a low budget production looks like nowadays. Because in the old days it was, flats and painted cardboard and, cheap looking scenery, but there was a tactileness to it. And now in 2026, that is more expensive than very quickly doing something and layering it in
Yeah.
Photoshop and After Effects and all that kind of stuff. So um I guess that's kind of a two-pronged reaction to, like, yes, I want to see things that give you that feeling of like, oh my God, how did they do that? But I don't know that it always needs to be like frogs riding a bicycle. Sometimes it could just be like, oh my God, Kermit just flipped a quarter into a cup
Stuff you
or
don't
blew out
even
a
really
candle.
stop and think about. You're just like, oh,
Right.
Kermit just did that because of,
Yeah.
oh, wait. I will say we were watching a clip of something with my daughter. She's 8, and my husband and I were like, I wonder how they did that. And she was like, oh, it's probably just AI. And it was so dismissive. And we were
Oh
like, no, it's
no.
not, because AI didn't exist. But also, it just showed how dismissive people are of things now, like, just a computer created it somewhere. I don't even think she really understands what AI is, but it's just this idea of like, if you see something amazing, it probably isn't real and it was probably created by a computer somewhere. And really having that moment of like, there is a time in which everything was created by hand and you had to come up with a way to just make it look that way. And I love that. I'm curious if everything in this will be practical. Do we know?
We don't know. We don't know anything.
I'm
Yeah.
sure not. I mean, you don't get any kind of production, I don't think, these
At
days
all.
without
Yeah.
having a little bit of intervention. But
Something.
yeah,
I actually
sorry,
do think
Becca,
that
I
we
cut
see
you
a
off.
little bit of CGI in the trailer, but I'm not remembering specifically. I don't know. I don't want to say what I think I saw in case I'm wrong. But I think going
Well,
the other
Waldo C.
direction.
Graphic was there, so
Waldo was there. I didn't notice him.
no.
But I think also hoping for the opposite of that, of not the how did they do that, but look at the thing that you can only do with puppets. And the example I always give,
Hmm.
I mentioned this in an interview I did with Matt Vogel a few years ago. We were talking about the 2015 series, and there's the episode where Miss Piggy is taking the silk climbing class, whatever that is.
Mhm.
And like you could tell probably had 4 puppeteers all dressed in green, and they're moving her around and very, choreographed and made it look very real. And I said, well, was there ever an option for you to just do what they would have done on the Muppet Show, which is they would have stapled her hands to a rope and they would have had someone on the bottom just swinging her around, and then she would have looked like a rag doll and it would have been hysterical.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, maybe it would have been a lot of work and setup, but also maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like, we have 20 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
this is what you do when you have 20 minutes. And that's the kind of thing that, like, you don't get it from a green screen, or you don't get from putting a thing into AI, because it only exists tactilely, and it looks bad, but deliberately bad. Does that
Yes.
make
And it's
sense? Yeah.
funny. It's
It's
just
funny.
funny.
We don't need our
Entertains you.
Muppets to look real. That's fine. We know they're puppets.
I think that one thing I do want to say that makes me very excited about this project is the fact that at the end of the day, yeah, they probably will use CGI for some things, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Arches shot is composite, which the
Well,
original
it was
Arches,
back in the
yeah, I
day
was gonna say
too. I
it
mean,
was back in the day
Right.
too. But
they don't have legs.
you're gonna use a
Like,
computer to composite it at this
physically
point.
cannot put a puppeteer in there when there's an
I
arch
know,
directly
but I'm
below them.
I'm
Yes,
I'm just saying we've already figured out one way that they're using a computer because they are
sure.
definitely compositing on the computer now.
We've cracked the technology.
But there's no need to do it by actually cutting film. But the thing is like it is so great to see the Muppets on a physical set again. And we
Mhm.
do know they physically built the set, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Because there's something about me, and I don't think I'm unique in saying this, but like I find the stuff with CGI backgrounds to be kind of claustrophobic to me.
Hmm.
And that even applies to really good CGI backgrounds like Muppets Haunted Mansion. I don't love Muppets Haunted Mansion as much as other people because it just wipes right off of my brain the I really like the tactile feel of things. And when the Muppets are in front of a green screen or a what is that room called from Haunted Mansion? The
Oh, where like the green screen is a giant TV screen.
Yeah, they do that in Mandalorian as well. And it's
Oh, sure.
better.
Yeah, the projected backgrounds. Yeah.
It's better, but I still don't like it.
What
There's
do you-
something about it, and I'm not saying that that's like a moral failing, but I don't like it. Again, and you really can tell the difference between these shows that are made with actual sets and these shows that aren't. And the better things produced by Sesame Street lately have been the ones that don't have the green screen backgrounds that they like using now, instead of filming on the set.
The Muppet Theater is kind of a character in its own, you know? Like I think I mean I'm saying that as a joke, but it is kind of true. And like to
Hmm.
have that character, any character except for Waldo C. Graphic be completely computer generated, I'll give Waldo a pass. But like we can't like that doesn't make any sense to me to generate the Muppet Theater when it's so important to what the Muppet Show is. Last question for each of you. Our hope obviously is that this special is a huge hit and Disney's like, we want more, 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 more. So if we get a new series of specials or if we get a series pickup, who do you want to see as the guest star? And you can't say Sabrina Carpenter because she's already taken.
I don't want to. I didn't want to jump on it, but I did bring a list because I've been
Cam,
thinking about this a lot.
oh my goodness, oh my goodness, Cam Garrity has a list of something.
I have a
I'm
list.
shocked. I'm shocked that Cam has a list of something written
There's
down.
1,200 names and counting.
Can you do it
No.
to the tune of Very Merry, Very Modern General? Yeah.
Um, okay, so I have a selection of names here. So I think first of all, give credit to Bobby Moynihan. I think is after all the work he did with the live shows, like that would be a nice thing to commemorate and memorialize. Yvette Nicole Brown
Hmm.
would be a tremendous amount of fun.
That's nice.
Does
Jennifer,
she even like the Muppets though? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm on the fence with her.
Are you just
but,
reading the guests that we had on our to introduce our guests?
No. I
Our
promise.
guests?
I promise.
Griffin Newman.
Ready?
Yeah.
Frank Oz. No. Jennifer Coolidge. John Batiste.
Yes,
Um,
he was on mine too.
An episode where it was both Steve Martin and Martin Short
Oh,
co-hosting
amazing.
together would
Yeah.
be great. I think having Diane Morgan, if anyone's familiar with Philomena Kunk, I would love an episode a la the Star Wars episode where both Philomena and Diane were like in the theater at the same time. I think would be really funny. If she's up for it, Lily Tomlin would be
Mhm.
great. And then I don't expect it for the Sabrina Carpenter episode. But one of my favorite parts, go figure, it was when they had puppeteers featured on the show in addition to whoever the guest star was. You look at
Cam Garrity is saying this.
I know, and I've got a list of them too, which is terrible. It's so out of character. Yeah, but to have someone like Bruce Schwartz, I think Terry Fader could probably host a whole episode and would be great. But also Philip Huber, who's a tremendous marionette performer. He actually worked with the Muppets on the John Denver special, but he did the marionettes in Being John Malkovich, and he performed the China doll in Oz the Great and Powerful and lots of other things. Alex and Olmsted is a terrific puppetry troupe. They have this character called Milo the Magnificent, which is so much fun. Everyone should know about Alex and Olmsted. And then Jagetto is another very talented marionette artist who does things that are I think anyone who likes the Muppets would like his stuff, but it is so opposite of that world, with these very handmade, um, incredibly detailed marionettes that are just super cool. So,
Puppets on the Muppet Show. I don't know if I see.
yeah,
it.
I don't know. Kermit might not like that, but yeah.
Great, good list. Drake, did you have someone besides John Batiste that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, I also made a list for my returning. I had Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin too. I thought both of those were great
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, I probably went a little nostalgic on it because I was thinking like who should have been with the Muppets, who wasn't with the Muppets. So, or at least who did not guest star. And Dolly Parton and Willie Nelson were two of the ones on my list because I just think both of them, and of course Willie Nelson has performed with
So is
Kermit and
Dolly.
the Muppets.
Yeah. So is Dolly. The Muppets were on her variety show back in the day.
But I think she would be fantastic on Variety
Yeah.
Show.
I'm not when I say so,
Yeah.
like Dolly
Yeah.
has, I'm not disagreeing with.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying the ones I picked like weren't necessarily on the original, but
Yeah,
may have
yeah.
performed. Same with Brett Goldstein, who I
Oh,
think is
yeah.
another huge Muppet fan, and he's also, I think, a really fun actor. Will Ferrell, I think, would do a great job.
Mhm.
Maya Rudolph, and then Wynton Marsalis. I also was trying to go in the
Wynton,
vein, Cam,
he's
of like thinking through people who come from adjacent worlds but aren't necessarily like TV or they would have a lot of obviously musicians, but they also had a lot of random people. My daughter's favorite episode is the Mom and Shows. I always pronounce
Mom
them.
and Shuns, yeah.
Mom and Shuns. I mean, to her, all of the guest stars are as knowable as the Mom and Shuns, really. So like, and they're just kind of quirky and interesting and thrown in there and as random as anything anyone else does. So I kind of agree with you. I would love to see some of those others and learn about someone new or appreciate a different art form that I don't know. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts.
And you know what? I skipped one too, but Adam Savage was on my list as someone sort of in that vein of like, he's no stranger to a camera, but we don't know him as a performer particularly. And he's buddies with Dave Goles and a bunch of those guys, so there's precedent for it. But
Sure, yeah. Becca, did you have a list as well?
I didn't make a list. I barely have thought about this, honestly. But I mean, listen, I mean the obvious answer and the one that you hear floated as much as Sabrina Carpenter and the one that also I'm the lesbian here on this podcast. Everybody says Chapel Roan, and I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that could be really fun. But along those lines of also like queer musicians who I'd love to see, Janelle Monáe would be fabulous. And there was someone else I was thinking of, who is a queer musician who I think would be wonderful on it. But
That's it. There are no more queer musicians. You named them both.
I did. That's it.
Yep, that's it.
That's all of them. Lady Gaga, honestly, let's second justice for Lady Gaga, second chance for Lady Gaga. She had a great album. She had a great album last year.
She's taken a few acting lessons since the Christmas special.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she could do it. She could do it. So I'll add to these lists. I think when I think about who works best with the Muppets, my mind usually goes to comedians or people in the comedy world that are a little bit more versatile in what they do. And so my first thought was Tim Robinson and Sam Richardson, who I adore both of them, and they're best friends. So I'd love to see them together with the Muppets. That would make my dreams come true. Also throw in Jason Mantzoukas. Think that he would be brilliant with the Muppets. And when you mentioned Philomena Kunk, it made me think of folks like Richard Ayoade, who I adore. And so weird. And like, I think of anyone, Matt Berry, same thing. Like, I would love to see what they would do with the Muppets. Oh, pay so much money for that. Come on.
And I do think there's something about like, you look at the list of the guest stars on the original show, there are some people who are like, who?
Yeah.
And I imagine, even in the 70s and 80s, they were like, who?
Jean-Pierre Rampal. What?
Yeah. But like, I think it would be really kind of fun to see the game of that a little bit too, of like, oh my gosh, who knew that Kate Micucci was like well, I mean, she's wonderful.
Yes.
Someone who is kind of off the beaten path. Like, not
Yeah.
everyone needs to be a Tom Hanks.
But on the flip side, they also had like one hit wonders where you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
when
true.
you ask who, and everyone in the entire country would have known that week, but like they had that
Yeah.
one song and then
Leo
disappeared. So
Sayer is a
yeah,
great
Yeah.
I
example.
think
Yeah.
it was a good mix, right? Because they
Yeah.
did have your Milton Berle or whatever, and then you had your really established comedians, and then you had, I mean, some of the newbies or one hit wonders or just off the
Yeah.
wall
I think
interesting
that's what
ones.
I want the most. If we do get a season pickup and we see a whole list of people, that it's old timers, it's people who are hot now, it's people from different forms of celebrity. Um, who's the football player that's been doing a lot of comedy stuff lately? His name's escaping me. He was in Bottoms. Um,
Oh, Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. I think
Oh,
he's
he's so
hysterical.
funny in Bottoms.
Yes.
Yeah,
Again, you need to
and
put it in a context that I, a lesbian, can understand.
right, yes.
I only not a lesbian, but I only know Marshawn Lynch from Bottoms as well.
You should watch the what's the Murderville, which is
Is he in Murderville?
he has one episode of Murderville, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's an improvised mystery show where everyone's in on it except for the one celebrity with Will Arnett as the detective, and you could tell that he figures out right away that anything he does, everyone has to follow it, and so he's just messing with everyone the entire episode. It's an incredible hour of television. I
Oh,
adore
cool.
it. Anyway, so we had a
Oh,
lot
Rachel
of
Zegler was my other one, who I
mm,
know has been talked about before in this context, but I love Rachel Zegler. Had an amazing West End year last year, and great. Anyway,
we should do a whole episode where we just pitch Muppet Show people because I feel like we can go on for another hour about
Oh
this.
my God, yes, I would be there in a heartbeat.
David Byrne, he's still around. He could do it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking the Talking Head song with Kermit would be amazing.
Yeah. Once in a
Yeah,
lifetime.
they
Yeah.
could bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could just
Same as
keep
it ever
list-
was. Just do it again. Same as
We
it
could
ever
Yeah.
was.
just
Same
we
as
could just
Same as it
keep
ever was.
we could keep listing, but maybe we should start wrapping up.
Yeah, maybe we should start wrapping this up because we've been going on for a little bit over an hour, and I wanna give everyone their time back. So thank you all so much for being here. I want to give each of you an opportunity to tell us where folks can find you on the internet if you'd like to be found. Cam, let's start with you.
Sure, I could be found just about anywhere online at Cam Garrity. You could go to camgarrity.com, has lots of my work. Instagram is probably the best place to catch me. And I'm going to be doing some stuff with ToughPigs later this year, which I'm really excited for.
We are too. Yes.
And you could always check out the Puppeteers podcast, which I did with Adam Krutenscher for a number of years.
Highly recommend. Great podcast.
A fantastic
that.
podcast, and we were Ryan and I were a guest on that podcast.
You
once,
guys
which was a
were,
delight.
which was
Yes.
a great episode. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drake, how about you? Where can people find you, if anywhere, on the internet?
I hang out on the ToughPigs Discord. Yeah. And
Great plug. Great plug.
toughpigs.com. Yeah.
Great. Becca?
Yeah, you can find me on most social media platforms at Tall Girl Petunia. Obviously, I'm on Tough Pigs and the Tough Pigs Discord, and you can listen to my Tough Pigs podcast, A Prairie Dawn Companion, on this feed. Season 2 will be coming this year. I just need to actually sit down and watch every single Gladys the Cow clip before I can make it.
Ugh, sounds like a pain.
I
Ugh.
know. Well, it's a pain to find them all, I'll tell you.
That's fair.
But you can also hear my other podcast, Here Comes Tomorrow, at herecomes tomorrow.net, about the X-Men and finding joy in a world that hates and fears us. And I don't know, go to your local library and read books.
Also, I think that's a good idea. Get your head out of the AI and into the real world. As for me, you can find me on Letterboxd at ToughPigsJoe. And other than that, I'm posting things on toughpigs.com all the time. So please visit ToughPigs. Please follow ToughPigs on your favorite social media provider. Please check out all of our podcast channels. We've got 4 of them, 4 different podcast channels.
I don't think that's enough. I think we need at least
we need a 5th?
7.
Oh my God, I'm so tired. No, how about that? We're just not going to do that. And if you want to support Tough Pigs, you can head to our Patreon or our TeePublic page, and you can give a little bit of money, or you can get a little bit of merchandise and help out the website and keep us afloat for another year. So thank you so much for joining us for Tough Pigs HQ. Make sure you watch The Muppet Show coming up on February 4th, and we'll see you next time.